Alrighty, today we're going to be talking about a video from LeanBeefPatty. If you're not familiar with who that is, she is pretty popular on TikTok. She's also pretty popular on YouTube as well, but this video is her talking about her fitness journey from start basically to where she's at now. The reason that I wanted to go over this is because I feel like, one, her story is pretty relatable to a lot of people, which is something that she says, but I also think there's just some things that I want to bring up during this video that I think can help other people out there as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So again, like I said, the title of this video is My Fitness Story, Sport, Chaos, Heartache, and Breaking Point. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome. Today, I'm gonna be telling you about my gym origin story / basically my entire life story. So it all started when I was born. I'm just kidding, but also I'm not kidding at all. My mom taught gymnastics to babies. Dead serious. She taught gymnastics to toddlers, and I was one of those toddlers. So I started doing gymnastics when I was about 2 años.
That's 2 years in Spanish, if you don't know. So this is the first thing that I wanted to kind of bring up that I think is important to talk about is the fact that, you know, she's been doing some sort of fitness activity her entire life, right? Now, this is something that I think we don't realize, like, how important getting started young is. You know, this is why I think teaching kids to be active and enjoy working out, finding something that you enjoy is really, really helpful, because I feel like it does just kind of build that base of just enjoying fitness being a part of your life from the very beginning, right?
After being a baby athlete, I continued in gymnastics, and I was a competitive gymnast for a number of years. I have been asked if I think gymnastics contributed to my physique. I think definitely yes, at least in like establishing a fine foundation and also just my coordination, body awareness, things like that. Even more so, in my opinion, than the physical contributions, the mental contributions. Because being in such a highly competitive and disciplined sport like that as a child, it kind of messed me up a little bit in the head. It definitely, there was some negative consequences, but it also helped me be very disciplined, especially in the beginning of my fitness journey.
It said, the text said I was arguably the most intense in the beginning.
When I was around 13 was the first time that I became body conscious. Like, as a person, that was the first time I was aware of my body existing in space, if that makes sense. It was like the summer when I was 13 years old and I was at gymnastics and I was standing there, and I remember feeling my thighs touch together at the top. My initial thought was just dread. I was like, oh my gosh. At that period of time, I don't know if it's still like this for 13-year-olds, but the thigh gap and being just kind of really skinny was in every...
And it's funny because she says at that time, right? Which is so true, because if you think about it now, the thigh gap, I'm sure there's people that want that, but like the beauty standard now that people focus on is being slim thick or being thick and like having nice legs, having a nice butt, having, you know, like just not being super skinny, right? But when she was 13, and I think we're around the same age, but around that time for me I mean, I'm a man, but like for the women, the young girls that were around my age at that time, it was the same thing, right? Be as skinny as possible, skinny. That's what people wanted, you know, pencil thin. Like it was crazy. So just seeing the difference in how things have shifted, I would, you know, for the better a little bit, but also for the worse in some aspects as well. But it's just interesting seeing how much beauty standards really do play a role in that stuff.
Everybody wanted a thigh gap. That was the moment when I realized I don't have a thigh gap. Devastating. It was so devastating to me. A few months later, maybe like a year, I quit gymnastics and pretty much immediately developed an eating disorder because I didn't have a great understanding of nutrition at the time. So my reasoning was, you eat for fuel if you're an active individual. I didn't really understand BMR and things like that. And so I thought, I'm not active. Before, when I was doing gymnastics, I'd work out for like 3.5, 4 hours, 4 or 5 times a week. And when I stopped working out like that, I just figured, I'm not working out, I'm not burning calories, I don't need food.
And this might sound silly to people that know, but if you don't know, you don't know, right? When I first started working out, I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like I was on the elliptical and I had been on it for a long time and I think I burned like 600 calories, right? Those numbers are always kind of off. But I remember thinking to myself, 600 calories. I've only burnt 600 calories. So I have to eat less than 600 calories to lose weight, right? Because I didn't understand BMR, TDEE, the fact that your body is burning calories when just by existing, right? I thought exercise burns calories, so therefore I have to eat less than the amount of calories I'm burning during exercise, and that is how things will work, right? That's how I'll lose weight. Thankfully, I was able to figure things out from there, but this is a very common thing that happens. And then she obviously went the opposite direction of being like, I'm going to over restrict because I don't want to gain weight. But a lot of people, they don't even think, like for a lot of us that are in high school or junior high and we enjoy sports and it's like part of just something that we like doing, we don't see it as exercise. We see it as fun, right? And so we don't think to ourselves, oh, I'm exercising 3 hours a day. It's like, I'm just playing football or playing soccer or whatever it is, right? Or doing gymnastics. And so you're not thinking that I'm active for that amount of time. So the amount of food that you're eating, it's just not a thought that you have, right? And then as you get older, we all know about the person in high school, the star athlete that did really well, but then, after high school, they didn't really play any sports. They got a regular job and they started gaining weight. Like this is something that we all know. It's like, it's a trope that we've all seen, right? This is very, very common. And so it's interesting that she kind of knew that was something that she didn't want, and she obviously went a little bit too far the other way.
I pretty much just completely stopped eating. You should not do that. That's not awesome. Started working out at home. I was doing a lot of just like body weight stuff, would run. Eventually,
So it says right here, I've chosen not to include photos at this time. I would like to note that I was never technically underweight. However, signs that I was sick were losing unnecessary weight very fast, extreme fear / focus on food, and my heart rate was extremely slow, amongst other things. Visually, I didn't look that abnormal. Not all the illnesses, including EDs, are obvious. True.
Consequences of my actions of having that severe eating disorder did catch up to me. Ended up in a treatment facility. It was kind of funny because I can remember I went a couple of times, but the first time I went to a treatment facility, I remember it was in the middle of the school year and I just disappeared for several months and then came back randomly. I was a little bit shocked that not a single person said anything to me. I don't know if just nobody noticed that I was missing for 3 months.
This is one of those things that I think it's interesting because I feel like it does show that like when we're in high school, everything is such a big deal to us, right? And like maybe people did notice and just didn't say anything because maybe it was like told to them to keep it, on the DL. I don't really know. But if it truly was like people just weren't paying attention, like that's something that is so common. Like we always worry so much about what other people are going to think of us. And a lot of times people don't care. Like they're not focused on you at all. They're focused on themselves and what they're doing. And the fact that you're there or not, it almost doesn't even register because we're so in our own little worlds. But I thought that was funny when she brought it up.
Or if they all knew I had an eating disorder, I'm really not sure. Only one person said something to me. This one boy was like, Patricia, where were you for 3 months? And I was like, I was sick. And that was the end of the conversation. And he didn't ask any more questions. And I didn't tell him anything else. And nobody else ever asked. I still think about that from time to time. I'm like, what was up with that? But anyway, so I had that eating disorder. Got treatment for it. Still struggled with it though. Even though I knew a lot about nutrition at the time, I had a very lengthy history with dietitians and whatnot. I wasn't really ready to accept recovery, so I didn't really accept it, and I continued in my kind of maladaptive behaviors.
Here, I think this is interesting. This is kind of going off topic, but again, this is just something that I think is important to bring up. A lot of times you'll notice that the more someone, maybe this is me calling myself out, I don't know, but like you'll notice that a lot of times the more someone knows about nutrition, the more likely they are to struggle with an ED, right? It's a pretty known fact that a lot of people that are dietitians, nutrition, and stuff like that, a lot of them have either in the past struggled with an ED, so that's what led them to want to become a dietitian, nutritionist, whatever, or they currently are still struggling with it, but they still work with other people because it just is what it is, right? Because like we want to work in things that we're interested in, clearly, and a lot of times if we're overly interested in food, that can be a lot of times a red flag for something else going on, right? And so that's not an uncommon thing that you'll notice.
For a good amount of time. And as I was doing that, I also started going to a gym.
Nice.
So I went to a regular gym. I remember I asked my dad. He is a very active man to this day. He works out all the time. He's riding his bike. He does a lot of things. But he had a membership to a gym. So I was like, hey, Pops, take me to the gym. And he did. And I can remember the first day he took me to the gym. He showed me 2 machines. He showed me the ab and adductor machines. And then he showed me how to do bicep curls. And he also showed me the elliptical. And that was it. And then he was just, be free. And that's exactly what I did. I love when I see people that are clearly new to the gym. I don't say anything to them and stuff. It's just like, I can tell, right? You can tell. And I just think about like my first times at the gym. And I remember one of the first times I went to the gym, I was with a friend and we were benching. And we had ended up on accident putting a 25 on one side of the bar and a 35 on the other side of the bar. And he tried to bench it and it just, and then we had to put it back. And then a guy came up. He was like, oh, I thought you guys were doing that on purpose. But yeah, those are the wrong sides. And I remember thinking, I was just so embarrassed because I was still pretty big at this point. And I was just like, dude, I just want to leave. Like, bro, it's just funny hearing people's like first time at the gym stories because it is scary. And it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to start, especially when I started, like YouTube wasn't what it is now. Man. Free, and I was having fun in the gym. Definitely did not know what I was doing. I was just going crazy in the gym. I was really intense in my workouts. They were very poorly structured though, and I did not have a good grasp of nutrition.
That's okay though, right? And I think it's okay to not know everything at the start, but eventually you learn, right? But I think it's okay to be like, I'm figuring things out. It's okay to be like that.
And 2019 hits, and that's when everything kind of changed. In 2019, I entered a relationship, and it kind of low-key changed my life. It was crazy. Horrific relationship. Absolutely terrible. But I am very grateful for that individual because, in a way, it really helped me. Because up until that point, all of my, mental energy had kind of gone towards worrying about the way that my body looked and worrying about food. Up until 2019, when all that anxiety and depression around my body shifted now to my partner. The relationship itself was a dumpster fire, but my shift had shifted. So, I really don't know why, because they sucked, but yeah. Also, I wasn't the best either. I wasn't the best, but they were just objectively worse than me, so there's that. During that relationship, I ended up losing around, I want to say 15 pounds, which is a lot for my frame. 15 pounds can look different on different people's bodies, but I was never overweight, and I definitely didn't have 15 pounds to lose. So losing 15 pounds, people around me would say things. They'd be like, are you okay?
This is something that you see so much, right? Obviously, on the other side of the spectrum for most of the people that are following this channel is you struggle with weight gain once you get in a relationship. It is so common, and it is absolutely difficult to maintain, especially if you're newer in your fitness journey, to maintain that journey if you are also in a relationship, a new relationship, especially new. But even if you're in a relationship and say the person that you're in a relationship with, this happens a lot with people that are trying to lose weight. They're in a relationship with someone that is okay with that person being overweight. It's not like they're like, oh, you're fat, you need to lose weight, right? They're like, I'm fine, I don't care, right? But once you start losing weight, and if that person, a lot of times it makes your partner uncomfortable. It's sad to say, but it's true, right? It makes the person uncomfortable, one. And then two, if you are someone that has struggled with your weight for a long time, if you're trying to lose weight, that means that you are going to be changing your habits and the things that you enjoy doing. And your partner might not be interested in doing that, right? Like the statistic of people that get bariatric surgery that end up, they end up in a divorce or their relationship doesn't work out is very, very high. Because when you're really overweight, you have certain habits that you stick to, and then if you start losing weight, those habits are going to change, and the person that you're with might not be okay with changing those habits. A little bit of a tangent, but again, these things relationships are tough, right? If that person isn't interested in the same things that you are, it's going to be hard.
Is everything okay at home? And then I would just be like, no. Just kidding. I wouldn't trauma dump on them like that. But it was not okay. I was just really sad. I was really sad for a pretty fair amount of time. And I just stopped worrying about food. Then, when that relationship inevitably ended, I started going back to the gym. Because when I was in that relationship, although I had been going to the gym before, I just stopped. I didn't have the desire. I was just like, I need to go take care of this other thing. So when that issue was no longer an issue for me, I decided to go back to the gym. I started going back to the gym around the very beginning of 2020. As we all know, that big whole world pandemic happened. So that was kind of catastrophic. And the gyms closed. So I had a couple of months in there where I was just, whoa, baby, I was going ham. I was getting diced. I was slowly putting on muscle. Then boom, pandemic, gym shut down. I am forced to stop going to the gym, which I was pretty upset about at the time because I was having a demon arc and it was cut short by the demons of the world. So that was crazy. I started running, though. I was doing calisthenics a little bit, but it was just not really hitting for me. So I just started.
Yeah, I was definitely running a lot more when the pandemic first started. I was doing a lot of homework. Because I remember at the beginning, I was doing like 2 home workouts a day because I had literally nothing else to do. Like a lot of times, I would either work out and then run, or I would just do 2 home workouts because I was like, I have literally nothing else to do. Man, those first few months were rough, bro.
Started to run. I'd run for maybe 4 hours a day just because I really didn't have anything else to do. Everything was online, everything was remote, you couldn't go anywhere, you could barely go to the store, so I didn't have anything to do. I just ran around for the entire day. 2021 comes around and the gyms open back up. So I start going back to the gym, I'm back on demon time. I start getting a little more involved on the online fitness community. So I started learning a lot more because before then, my friends aren't into fitness the same way I am. And I didn't really have that much interest in really like learning anything new. I just wanted to go to the gym to move my body. But in 2021, I wanted to learn more things. So I started learning more things. I started learning about kind of like different workout splits, nutrition, things like that, just vaguely a little bit. Eventually, like in 2022, started tracking my calories a little bit more closely and realized I was not eating enough protein. This is the reason why I like loose tracking, is because if I don't track my calories, I won't eat protein. Maximum 20 grams a day. I just don't gravitate towards foods high in protein. So I'm not gonna eat protein if I'm not making sure I eat protein. So
It's interesting because I feel like this is something that is more common with women. And don't come for me, all right? Please don't cancel me. I'm just saying what I've noticed, right? It seems like a lot of women seem to struggle with protein, and I do think that if that's something that you struggle with, loosely tracking for, a good amount of time, 6 months, maybe even a year, just so you make sure that you're hitting that. Because again, after about a year, if you're eating the similar foods, like you're not going to need to track if you know, okay, I normally should eat around this much each day. That's why I'm a fan of tracking for an extent, but I think it's like something that eventually you have to get over. It seems like it's relatively new for her. So I wouldn't be surprised if she did it for a little bit and then after a while, she's like, okay, well, I don't need to track anymore because I've been doing it for a while. Like I tracked for a couple years and now I haven't tracked in 6 years or whatever, right? And so, but I do think that it's one of those things that I think is important to, I think tracking is important for most people, especially if you are very, very, if you really don't know anything about nutrition, right? You're very ignorant to it. It really opens your eyes to the types of foods that have, maybe a lot of fat that you didn't realize, or a lot of carbs, or a lot of sugar, or a lot of protein, or whatever. It just really helps you understand and visualize, those macros and those different types of food.
So then I started tracking my calories, started learning more about fitness, started getting a little bit better at things, and here we are. So that's it. That's kind of my whole story. I don't think it's a very uncommon story. I actually think it's probably relatable for a lot of people. Starting out in the child athlete, developing an eating disorder, going to the gym. I feel like that is a pretty common story, I'm not gonna lie. So
yeah, I think that it is very common, but I think that that's important, right, to talk about that stuff, because when things are relatable to people, it hits different, right? It just does. You understand. And again, you might be on the opposite end of the spectrum. You might have like been a child athlete and then gained weight and then you struggle with losing it or whatever, right? But it doesn't change the fact that these arcs that we have are pretty common for a lot of people.
I don't really feel that I'm a special butterfly or anything, but that's how it happened for me. Just, yeah. But it's not over yet. I honestly think that the moment you feel as though you've learned it all and you're not open to learning more and growing more and accepting that you don't know everything is the point in which you stagnate. So I'm always trying to learn new things. There's always something more to know, and nobody knows everything. And you don't know what you don't know until you know it. Said that in a different video, and it's such a solid quote, so I'm gonna say it again. This is just part of the journey, and I guess I'm gonna see what the next chapter is gonna be. I don't know.
I think that stuff like that is really important, because especially like seeing that she is willing to say she doesn't know everything, because you'll notice a lot of times the people that I tend to disagree with are the people that act like they do know everything and that everything they say is gospel and that you should listen to everything they say, because if you do anything different, you're going to fail, right? I don't like that, because no one is the knower of all things. It doesn't exist, right? And like, we're all learning. We're all trying to figure things out. And so I think that it's important, like if you are looking for someone to look up to or someone that you think like has good information or that you can trust, knowing, like hearing them say something like that, just even if it's just hearing them say, I don't know, that's important, because you know that they're willing to be honest and not just try and blow smoke up your butt and be like, no, yeah, this is the best thing. Absolutely. 100%. Also buy this from me, you know?
Hope you're there for it though. I hope we can enter the chapter together. For this video though, that is the end. So
okay. Again, I know this is a little bit different of a video, but I just thought it was interesting. Again, something completely different. Someone that, you know, hasn't struggled with their weight as far as like being overweight. It's very different for the channel. But these are things that I want to talk about, because I think, especially in the fitness industry, it's so easy to get tricked or believe that the people that you follow have always had it all together and they know everything and they've never struggled. That's just not true, right? Everyone has their story, and I think it's cool that she shared hers, and I think that it is very relatable to a lot of people, and I think a lot of people can, you know, hear this and be like, yeah, I understand exactly what that's like. But I'm kind of curious what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.